To the Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr Speaker, last night in the House, the Labor members were gloating about their fantastic success in the Mana by-election. To quote what they said, "We won, you lost, eat that." And I think that arrogance and frankly that speech that we heard from Pete Hodgson shows Labor has learned absolutely nothing since their defeat in the 2008 election. I'd like to be helpful today, Mr Speaker, and explain to Labor what a 6.6% swing to the government means for the Labor Party. Because with information from the Parliamentary Library, I'd like to remind my colleagues that Labor would lose half the constituency seats that they currently hold if there was a 6.6% swing. Let's go through them. Clayton Cosgrove, Chris Hipkins, Nanaia Mahuta, Brendan Burns, Ian Lees-Galloway, Parakura Horomia, Grant Robertson, Ruth Dyson, David Cunliffe, Trevor Mallard. Every one of those 10 members opposite would be goners if the result in the by-election was translated into a general election. But it's actually worse than that, Mr Speaker. I asked the Parliamentary Library to ask for the swings in every single by-election during my lifetime. And I managed to get through the 16 by-elections and to compare the Mana result. Well, I found Taranaki King Country when we were in government, negative swing 18%, Wellington Central, minus 3%, minus 8% in the Selwyn by-election. I go all the way back to Timaru, where there was a 16% swing against the government. I can go back to Christchurch Central in 1979, when there was an 8.5% swing against the then Rob Muldoon-led government. I can even go back to my own constituency of Nelson, when there was a by-election in 1976, about a similar time after Sir Robert Muldoon had been elected, and in that by-election, the National Government Day went backwards. Every single by-election, 35 years, the swing has been against the government. A 6.6 swing to National is an incredible result for Hiki Parata and the John Key-led government. And then let's look at the history of Mana. We go back to all the way through the 08, 05, 02, 99 elections. I can find no result in the electoral E7 reports that show anything less than a 3,500 majority for Labor in that seat, making the 1080, appropriately named, a 1080 on the Labor Party, the 1080 result, a truly remarkable result. You see, it's interesting. What did the President of the Labor Party say about the Mana by-election? He said, you've got to look a little bit aghast at the result. Now, what did Phil Goff say? He said it was a resounding victory. Well, I have to say, with a resounding victory of a 6.6% swing against the Labor Party actually shows just how out of touch members opposite are. The reality is that that by-election was a ringing endorsement of Hiki Parata as a fantastic candidate and member of this House, but most importantly, it was an endorsement of a Prime Minister who's focused on the issues that matter, not the sort of stuff that Pete Hodgson's talking about, and a government that is delivering for New Zealand in some of the most difficult economic times. And I simply say to Labor members opposite, rather than the rhetoric we get of we won, you lost, eat that, it's time for Labor to learn some lessons, because the Mana by-election was a rejection of the Phil Goff-led Labor Party.
The Honourable Trevor Murray.